Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the RacePlazaMedia podcast. My name is Milan.
My name is Pia.
And today, the day has finally cometh.
Okay.
The first race of the F1 season has happened.
Yes.
It was the Australia race.
Yes.
Which
I was going to say, which is notoriously, or at least the last 2 years, or 3 years even, it's been a fun race.
Yes, it's been fun. It's, I think, one of the better street races. It's also been notoriously a lot of incidences.
Yes,
over the last few years, and of course this year we have all the new regulations, everything from engine to the whole, what is it,
the
power
chassis,
deployment. Everything is new and crispy. For some teams,
yes.
For other teams, it's not quite crispy yet.
Yes.
So I think what we're going to do is we're going to briefly talk about qualifying.
Yes.
Very briefly, and then we're going to get right into the race. So I think qualifying, the big thing that truly happened is the Q1 exit of Max Verstappen was probably the most surprising thing.
Just because it's something that doesn't happen a lot. Because it's not like the car just went out. He actually spun. And he lost a little bit control of the vehicle, which is not something that happens very commonly. I think he said something along the lines of that the steering wheel kind of snapped and he lost everything, I think.
Yeah, so what happened is, I guess the energy rechargement situation is you recharge it through the back, not the front axle. And I guess that caused a lockup, something that the car never had done before. And then at the speed that they're going, because this is down essentially the main straight going into T1. And car snapped, and then he was in the wall. Fortunately, he was fine, and he was also able to race the next day. But that was really the big upset. We had two other cars that didn't even start. Nico Hulkenberg never started, and then
Nico started. Sorry, you mean the main race?
No. You're right. Qualifying, Carlos didn't start and Lance didn't start
Correct.
either.
Yes. Because Nico had some other issues
in
the actual race.
Yes.
But I think those were two. And then the other thing I think we just quickly touch on during qualifying is, of course, during free practice before Kimi went into the wall pretty hard, damaged the car severely, but Mercedes was able to put a car back together for him. So he was able to take it out for qualifying. Not only qualifying one, but he ended up making it all the way through to Q3 and ended up coming in or providing the lockout of the front row with Mercedes, which is, it's an incredible feat for the teams to be able to put a car back together so quickly, because there's also so much in German, I would say Feingefühl. There's just so much detail that goes in it for also to get the right setup. And even the commentators were talking about that. Yes, Kimi has a car underneath him, but it's probably not in just a perfect window for him.
And I think he mentioned that as well.
Yeah, and it's still incredible that they were able to put it back together in such a shape that he was able to end up qualifying in second place. But it also, I think it speaks highly of just the car, which we'll get into more now. So we had Mercedes locking out the front row. Then we had Isaac Hadjar in third.
Which was insane. This is the best second Red Bull seat has done in a long time.
In a very long time,
I don't think it is fair to compare it to... Almost it is not fair to compare it to the other ones because the car is so different.
Yes.
From before, but he's been doing great so far,
it's just really exciting because obviously we like him, and because the second driver has had such bad luck as of late, I'm happy to see that as of right now he seems to be meshing with the car. Obviously it's very early on, but it's nice to see. We had Charles right next to him, so a Ferrari up there, beautiful, followed by both of the McLarens. Then Lewis was right there, which was not bad. Both Ferraris were not 100% happy with how qualifying turned out.
Especially Q3.
Yes, because they changed the tire compound for Q3, I think, and that's what...
Also for Q2, but they were saying that they both had deployment issues with the battery. So there was definitely some pace that... left on the street.
Yes.
Were out there. The good thing is, and also going into the race, I was yes, it wasn't necessarily where we wanted to be at. But we also know that Ferrari has a huge advantage or they're doing very well in the start.
Yes, which has changed now, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll get into all of that. And I think also the really exciting thing to see is that, well, we had both Racing Bulls in the top 10. We had 8th place Liam, and then 9th place we had Arvid Lindblad, the only rookie on the grid. And what a fantastic performance by him.
Yeah, especially first race in a brand new car. Of course, I mean, that's for everybody, but also for him just making this big step up, but then able to put it into Q3, you know, it's a huge feat. And then obviously we'll talk about his race in a second. And I feel like we can just get into it. I mean,
to round off the top 10, it was Gabriel Bortoletto in the Audi.
Yes, exactly.
So this is the top 10. So now we're going to get into the race.
Yes, but before the race even started, we had, of course, I'm very, very, very unfortunately, I mean,
the curse of the home race.
I know, it just breaks my heart. Oscar Piastri wasn't even able to complete his outlap, essentially, or like
they call it now is it like installation lap?
Yeah, or siding. I mean, in Supercross, it would be like the siding lap.
Yeah, it's essentially for them to get the battery in the state that they need it to be for the start.
Yes.
Because they have to do like the whole recharging the battery and stuff like that. I guess they're not allowed to just come with a charged battery. And then essentially going around the corner, the tires were cold. He said, I think 100 kilowatts more in the battery.
He had more power all of a sudden than he had during all other sessions. It was cold tires, him getting onto the curb, and the car just went away from him. He went into the wall in front of a huge grandstand. And of course, he has his own grandstand right there in Australia. So it's just so unfortunate because last year, of course, he was leading majority of the race and he ended up spinning out, but he ended up not winning. He ended up finishing the race, but he ended up, I think, still in the points. But then this time that he wasn't even able to start the race, just really heartbreaking. Then also Nico Hülkenberg, his car was brought immediately into the pits as they were kind of prepping the cars on the starting grid. His car was then removed and pulled into the pits. He ended up not even starting, which is just, he not even started. So it's just like, just sad.
Yeah, so we had 2 did not start.
Yes.
And then going into the start, it happened what we as Ferrari fans were hoping would happen. Fantastic start by both Charles and Lewis. Charles actually immediately went from 3rd to 1st.
Yes.
And Lewis going into like T1 or T2 or something like that, he was almost in 1st as well. And then he was able to, then there was a little bit of battling because Lindblad also had an insane start.
Yeah.
And he went from, what was it, 7th or 8th?
No, he was in 9th.
9th to like going up to the front to battle for 3rd.
Yeah.
That ended up like kind of like it regulated itself because we are expecting like there is obviously a little bit of a gap in performance and stuff like that just from the car itself. But it was really awesome to see. There were, of course, also casualties in the start due to the whole like energy thing. I think Kimi said he didn't have enough power, that like there was no power in the car.
And he also had some wheel spin right at the start.
Yeah.
But not only that, but also that whoever controlled the lights was insane. So now they have this thing where once they are all back into position, we have the green flag being waved. Then they have like this blue
light for 5 seconds
come on, so everybody can start off, get the revs into the correct height or whatever you call it. And then you have the countdown of the 5 lights. And then they come on, but it was so fast this time.
It was like they were barely on and then they were turned off again.
Exactly.
And I honestly thought this would lead to like some type of mess.
Chaos, yes.
But it really didn't. Everyone was really well behaved. I mean, Charles had to immediately take avoiding action because Kimi, who was starting in front of him, couldn't get off the grid. And then also the same thing for Liam Lawson. He said he had no power.
Yeah, exactly. That was really, really scary, which they didn't even show until much later. Or we didn't, I don't remember seeing it until they were in the cool down room, which was, Liam Lawson had some trouble getting off the pace. Franco Colapinto, who was starting much further behind him, had to take incredibly last minute avoiding action because
millisecond.
Millisecond, really, like it was it shows his reflexes of like how quickly he was able to make those avoiding actions, because otherwise that would have been immediately something, safety car or whatnot. So that was kind of crazy. It was a fun start though, because there's a lot of shuffling immediately. We had some excellent battling on the track, especially in the front, because that's what we saw, of course, most of the time. We saw Charles and George battling a lot. Of course, we had a really excellent showing for our rookie, Arvind. He just
he went toe-to-toe at some point with Max Verstappen.
I know, and it's just he didn't hold back. He wasn't scared. He took risks, but it was safe. Some really, really great battling. There was a quick moment where he was potentially on the podium. It was early on in the race, but still.
This was still lap 1, yeah.
But it's really, really fun to watch.
And I think in the post-race interview, also Fernando Alonso said that he really enjoyed at the beginning, because for the first 3 laps, the Aston Martin was doing really well. But then the Aston Martin, for both Lance and Fernando, they ended up essentially just treating the race as a practice session.
Yeah.
I think Lance at the end was he 15 laps down, and Fernando didn't even finish.
Yeah, exactly. Both of them had gone into the pits multiple times. They've changed setups then in the pits. Then they came back out again, multiple laps down, just to get data for the team to work and improve the car. And because coming into this weekend, we already knew that Aston was just not quite up to par. And of course, we also know that for Cadillac, there's a little bit of a learning curve. Unfortunately, Valtteri Bottas wasn't able to finish the race either. He said he had multiple issues throughout the race, but then at the end, it was just not possible. I think
also unrelated, it sounds like.
Yes.
He first had an issue with the steering wheel, and then later on, was it his power just went out?
Yeah, and then they had some issues with the clutch also.
Yeah. That's why the steering wheel change.
Also really, really upsetting, or just such a bummer for Isaac.
Yeah.
He was in the top 3, obviously started in top 3, then he was battling in the front as the sole Red Bull at the beginning in the top 10 even. And he seemed to have excellent control of the car. He had really good pace. But then in lap 10, his car just everything went away from him, and it was just.
So that cost the first virtual safety car.
Yes.
He was able to park it on the side right where there was this outcropping where they were able to push the car back in, but due to this being a street track, they had to put on the virtual safety car, and then it was very interesting. It's not 50% of the grid pitted, and the other ones decided to stay out. And then what was it, 4 laps or 6 laps later, we got another virtual safety. Well, 4 laps later after the restart of the virtual safety car, we got another virtual safety car for Valtteri Bottas. And I think there is some upset people in the Ferrari fan base.
Well, because with both of these virtual safety cars, we had majority of the grid went into pit and changed tires one way or another. Of course, we had different people starting on different compounds. Most of them started on the mediums. We had a couple people starting on softs and a couple people starting on the hards. But then by the time the second safety car came around, most of the teams had sent in their drivers to change, just because, of course, even during a virtual safety car, you do save several seconds and the safety in the pit stop. However, Ferrari didn't.
Yes.
And then so even the two of us have differing opinions on it. For me personally, I am a little bit bummed that they didn't send in just one of them, just to diversify their potential opportunities in the long run of the race, just because Mercedes, who were their biggest competition at that point of the race, both of the drivers went in. So for Ferrari to go completely opposite, of course, is high risk. There's also, of course, potential, especially being in Australia. Through experience, we know there's a higher risk of safety cars coming out or incidents happening, especially also with the new car regulations.
Due to reliability also.
Exactly. So there was maybe even a higher chance that there might be another safety car coming out in one shape or another later on during the race. So I understand the thinking, but I think one of them could have gone in to save the time during the pit stop at that point, already have a guaranteed saved time during the pit stop, and then see if there was any potential to make up some time. I know your opinion differs. I'm not horribly upset about it. I think it's just a little bit of a missed opportunity, and I'm a little bit worried that this is I'm just because I don't trust Ferrari's strategy calls based on previous seasons. I'm hoping I'm open-minded that they're going to be better this season, but I don't love this call specifically.
And my side of it is so like I know that Fred Vasseur, he said and his like post-race debrief or interviews that he's done that well, it was a little bit unfortunate because they had considered, I think, at least pitting one person during the second virtual safety car. And as far as I remember it, and I might be misremembering it, but the virtual safety car was signaled right when they were coming around the like last corner. So it would have been very last second to be able to pull at least one of them in, because they were quite close, because they were running 1 and 3 or something.
No, at that point they were 1 and 2.
They were 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So it would have, it was 1 and 2. That's right. So they were quite close together within like 2 seconds of each other. So it would have been a very like last second call for either of the drivers. And because it's also unfortunate because like Valtteri was trying to make it into the pits and then the car just like right at the entrance.
Yes.
So that's why it was closed, which is usually you are obviously allowed to pit under the virtual safety car.
It was open at the beginning, and then eventually they had to push in his vehicle through the
pit entry,
pit entry lane. So yes.
So I think by the second time they came around, it was already closed. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I know that Lewis was vocal on the radio. I don't know what Charles said because it wasn't like in the broadcast. But he was like, just don't double stack me. I don't want to be double stacked.
Yes. But he did also voice like, why didn't one of us go in?
He said it in the first one. He was like, why didn't we split the strategy?
Yeah.
And I think whoever would have, out of the Ferraris, would have pitted during the virtual safety car would have made it guaranteed P3. I'm also of the opinion that we didn't see the true Mercedes pace. And I don't think Ferrari would have been able to take the fight to 1 or 2. I think after the pits, and we didn't see, I think, Russell really pushing it out there because there was no need to. Charles was not gaining anything on Antonelli, who was in second. So he was just able to maintain the pace. So I think, and especially on a track that is heavily favored by the Mercedes, I think it was, I think Ferrari was like, we'll do the one stop and we're going to stick with it. And
which Mercedes did a one stop too.
Correct.
Yes.
But it looks like that the Mercedes is handling maybe the tires a little bit better.
I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm, like I said, I'm not too upset about it because I hear what you're saying and I'm looking at the times and I do believe there's truth in what you're saying, that the Mercedes might have not shown all the pace because they didn't have the pressure.
Yeah, I genuinely believe that. Yeah.
And then, but I think it wouldn't have been a wrong call to split them, to see maybe what the potential is and also how the battling would have continued, you know, because you never know. Because I mean, especially at the beginning, Charles and George literally back and forth. So it would have been an interesting test to see if they would have continued the battling, how would the cars have lasted or reacted to it, and stuff like that. I think it would have given us maybe some more information in that we could use in the future.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't disagree. I think it's always worth trying to go for the fight, right? But I don't think this was a horrifically wrong call. And I know that Ferrari has the history of making bad calls, but also I think we very much tend to, because of all the hurt and trauma, we tend to glaze over that Ferrari also has made some correct calls, so some normal calls, but also some they've done a gamble before and it worked out, you know?
100%.
And
yes.
So once again, because Ferrari ended up finishing P3, P4, I think they maximized results. So I'm not really too upset about it. And I'm also like, this is the first race of the season. Next weekend we are immediately back.
Yeah.
We are back with the sprint race.
Yes.
We are back with F1 Academy.
Yes.
You know, and also with a track that is, I think, a little bit more favored by maybe the Ferrari car. It's not as Mercedes favorite. Like, I think the Mercedes will still be good. Like, let's be real. But I think the Ferrari might be able to go a little bit faster too.
So we haven't even officially said it, but obviously George Russell ended up coming in first. He ended up winning. And then Kimi Antonelli came in second. Charles came in third. Lewis came in fourth. And Lando rounded up the top 5. Before we move on and talk about some of the other drivers' race, also, I do want to say both. Well, no, actually, Lewis ended up talking really highly about the car. He's like, he felt really great in it. He felt really good about it. And it's just really nice to see him so positive also after a race. And of course, having both Ferraris 3 and 4 is an excellent result to get started in the season. Yeah. So hopefully the goal is to build on it. Yeah. Charles, on the other hand, congratulations to him, married man, didn't speak quite as highly of the car. He was like, there's some setups there that still need to be tweaked. He's not 100%.
He wasn't able to get the car where he wanted.
Exactly, which is obviously also not necessarily a bad thing. So we know there's some room for improvement as well. But I also want to give a huge shout out to Max Verstappen. He ended up coming in 6th.
Yeah.
Because he started pretty far in the back. What position did he officially start in? He started in 20th. And he made his way through until 6th. I mean, obviously, we know that the Red Bull has a good pace. It was a matter, he even said it in the post-race interview, it was a matter really mostly for him to make it cleanly through the midfield, which is reasonable, and he did it. Yeah. So we'll see how, I'm assuming this upcoming weekend, he will be getting into Q3, and then we'll see him actually battle with the other 2 teams a little bit more. The same with Isaac, hopefully. He will be able to complete the race. But a huge shout out will for sure go to our rookie, Arvid Lindblad, coming in 8th. Yeah. 18 years of age, first race in the car, immediately points. So excellent. Congratulations to him. Ollie Behrman came in 7th in the Haas, which is also, of course, a great result for them. Especially, I mean, I think the midfield is definitely going to be interesting to see how all the different cars and drivers, of course, adapt to this new.
Because we also have so many different teams in the top 10, right? Yes. We have an Alpine, we have an Audi, we have a Racing Bull, a Haas, a Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes.
Yes.
It's a lot of different constructors. It's really good to see that Audi was able to snatch up 2 points.
Yes.
With Gabriel finishing in 9th. And then I'm also really Pierre getting a 10.
Yeah.
10th place at 1 point for Alpine is really, really strong.
Especially after a very poor season last year. Yeah. But it was also, we had some really nice battling happening between Gabriel, Pierre, and Esteban, who's right behind the 3 of them, which was also a little, not nerve-wracking, but we were talking about it during the race, like, there's the rivalry, like
so much history
Pierre and Esteban, of course, them battling. We also had then all of a sudden Liam battling Checo again, which Dave, of course, had some tensions in the past on the track.
With that, I was just a little frustrated that we only got replays, because we did get a lot of footage of people just being like 4 seconds away from each other when there were people who were within overtake range, or also people who were like within like half a second of each other. I was like, let me see this, even if nothing comes of it. Let me see the battling. And that, but this goes back to, I think the F1 broadcast has been okay. It hasn't been as good as it was a few years ago, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did see some great battles, of course, because they were also happening in the front between some of the top teams. But yes, I agree. We did miss out on some opportunities, because I think there was a moment where we saw Lando Norris just driving by himself, but there was 2 different battles on track that we saw alternately on like the smaller screen. I was like, oh, that's a bummer, because there's so much more we could actually be watching. But it was also really fun to watch the new cars on the grid. Of course, obviously the new liveries, but then also seeing the opening and closing of like the wings. And of course, it's going to take some time for me personally to also adjust to the different regulations and being able to observe them. Of course, they've included different ways to display like the overtake and the battery charges, so we can
Yeah,
really watch those things.
they're on purpose not showing it all the time. I think the teams, it was agreed upon because it reveals too much information.
Fair.
Which I think is fair because they're so reliant on having the battery charged up to make any type of attack or making it down the straight. I think there was reports online with like when you run out of battery or something like that, you're dropping like almost 60 kilometers, and that's like devastating.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If not more. I think it was like I don't know if it was the Alpine or something like that, where they saw that, like, or was it the Aston? So I think it will be a while. Based on what the drivers are saying, they're not happy with the regulation. I as a viewer, I think we had a pretty good start into the season. I will say the second half of the race was not as interesting as the beginning part of the race, I would say. But I think it's too early to cry wolf, you know?
I think it was after the second safety or virtual safety car, once we had most of the people already pitted, it kind of things slotted into position for the most part. But then we got to the space where, the front, the Mercedes weren't really battling with the Ferraris anymore. But then we didn't really get to see the other action on track.
Yeah, Max was on Lando for quite a while, and I think we were all surprised that he didn't overtake. So is this a thing where it's like it was Lando just defending really well, or is it a thing it is because they were saying, the drivers leading up to the race, that it will be more difficult to overtake? Because we did see that yo-yo effect, especially between Russell and Leclerc in the beginning. It's like, so one was overtaking and then the other one yo-yoed back. So it was like never anyone was able to pull away. In a way, it makes it fun to watch when there's fighting like this.
Yeah, because it's also, it then more strategy comes into play again. When do you actually do the overtake for you to have the either long-term benefit or the final benefit of having a better position when you cross the finish line?
Yeah, it's the same, not the same way, but this is this thing when there was obviously DRS, like, or you don't make the overtake until you get to the DRS zone, or you will kind of hold off. There's some tracks where you can play around a little bit with that, so you make the overtake right by the DRS zone, and that way you can like pull out a gap because the other person won't get it. So there's a whole like thing that you can do around that. But overall, I think it was a great start into the season. I enjoyed the race. We had action, we had virtual safety cars, we had drama, we had sadness, especially of course for the home crowd. Because there's also, there's not, I mean, I don't know if this year is, I don't know if Barcelona is on the calendar, but besides Italy, there's no country we really visit twice. So all the Australian fans have to literally wait another year to see their driver. And I think this really crazy, or this very unfortunate stat that no Australian racer has ever made it onto an Australian podium.
Which is crazy.
And like, if you think about it, it hasn't been that many Australian racers, but there have been very high caliber or high value of races, right? You had Weber, you had Danny, especially like in their primes and stuff like that, and now Oscar, who was a title contender last year, and it's just so unfortunate.
I know. But we'll see. I mean, this upcoming weekend we have, of course, China, which is going to be really interesting. Yeah,
there's a few things I still wanted to talk about.
Oh, okay, go for it.
I will say, obviously, Cadillac, really unfortunate that it seemed like the car was not where it needs to be. I think it is just difficult to come in, and you are essentially from like almost 0.0. Hopefully being able to get the reliability in that both drivers can finish the race. And then hopefully also to take it to the midfield and not just be a backmarker car, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I want to give them a little bit of time to get things sorted. The same thing, of course, with Aston, to see if they can get a decent car together. I mean, I think especially with Cadillac, they have excellent drivers in the car, and they will be able to provide the feedback that they need, especially now that they were able to I mean, Valtteri didn't complete the race, but at least Sergio or Checo, he finished the race. And then so they will have a little bit of information.
In last place, right? 3 laps down. Yikes.
Yes, yeah.
That is pretty tough.
No, yeah, but it's data, like they've been saying.
It is,
so
but that's 3 laps, right?
yeah,
I will say, I think the number one disappointment for me, though, this weekend were the Williams. And it's
yes.
just because from where we came from, right? We came from them making it onto goddamn podium last year,
Yeah.
right? We had a Williams on a fucking podium last year, right? And this year, they didn't even make it to one of the testing sessions, right?
Yeah, and they were like a second off pace.
Yeah, to the midfield
Yeah,
cars, and
yes.
that's really, really tough, especially because people. I mean, there's a lot of discourse online. It's like, well, why do the customer cars from Mercedes are not where the Mercedes is at? So some people are talking about like it's obviously like it's a software thing. I don't know the ins and outs of it because I had read online that they have to share their hardware and the software, but I don't think this is probably true. Everyone probably figures their own setup, or Mercedes, obviously having been able to engineer it, probably know the engine much better.
Yeah.
And then also there was talks that that all the customers' car didn't actually get the newest engine until free practice, whereas Mercedes had the newer version of the engine for longer.
Gotcha.
But it is just heartbreaking because you have really good racers in that car, and you need to be able to provide it. And then, once again, I don't want to paint the devil on the wall, but this is I feel like the one that feels like the hardest for me.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, especially because, like you said, they finished on such a high note.
Yeah.
Last year, they had some really great victories.
Yeah. What, they finished 5th overall in the Constructors' Championship, I think?
I think you're probably right. But it was just like, wait. 5th? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But it's just a little bit of a bummer, but it's still early. Like we said, it was the first race. We'll see how much improvement maybe they can do for this upcoming weekend.
Yeah.
Or then I think after that we'll have a little bit of a break until they go to Japan. So we'll see how slowly but surely the cars will develop.
Yes, and what I will say, what also is kind of awesome, is that we are immediately getting another race.
Yes.
Because like with MotoGP, we're off for like 3 weeks or something like that.
I know, I couldn't believe it that they dropped us one little crumb and then they dipped again. But at least with Ferrari, we get back-to-back races.
Williams finished in 5th.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So it's nice that we're immediately getting like a back-to-back situation.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Do you have anything else to say about Formula One?
No, I think I am quite content and happy the way the weekend went. And I'm very excited for this upcoming weekend. Because last year we also had, of course, Lewis win the sprint race. So that is obviously something that's going to be brought up 700 times.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
Yes, 100% agree. But now we also watched this weekend, not just Formula One, but we watched a very exciting Triple Crown event in Indianapolis. And of course, we're talking